Welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing sustainability, deep adaptation, and compassionate degrowth in the face of abrupt climate change. Or, to shorten that up, a realistic discussion of where we're at and what we can do. I know that was a long intro. I probably will be continuing to say that long intro. Really quickly, I just wanted to tell you, I'm filming this video. This is the first day I'm able to film this video on, I got a new computer, a gift from a very dear friend of Black Bear News. And just wanted to say thank you again. So if you can tell, the picture quality, probably the sound, everything is like way better because I'm on a spanky, not brand new, but pretty nice computer. So yeah, I had kind of a little epiphany or come to Jesus or, realization yesterday that I guess I'm getting pretty depressed by just continuing to tell everybody how terrible things are. It's affecting me. And there are a few camps in the climate change, and especially the abrupt climate change spectrum of the population or planet. And that is, some people are like, we're doomed, we're screwed, we're done for, over the falls, here we go, it's happening any minute, just hold on and don't worry about it, and then there are a few people who are like, things look really bad, it doesn't look good at all. I'm going to continue to try and affect some positivity, affect some positive change upon the situation, whether or not it's futile. And I kind of ride both rails at some points, and I think that there's a lot of those two viewpoints are very prevalent on this channel, and they are welcomed and accepted. I'm not gonna shame anybody for their outlook, because I think all those viewpoints are valid in shaping what the reality is. And it's interesting because a lot of this knowledge and a lot of this viewpoint is predicated on the work of Guy McPherson and some others who are, Sam Carana. Trying to think of people who could be categorized as, fully accepting of our doom. But people who have done work and gained insight into the situation and realized that we are in a predicament. I know I'm leaving a lot of names out of that, out of those who are in that camp, so I apologize in advance. A lot of people who are aware of our predicament and are willing to still do, small things in their own personal lives, and larger things too, to affect positive change wherever possible. The point is, it looks really bad, and you still shouldn't give up. You still shouldn't give up hope. That's the thing, is like there's this, the hopium thing. I personally think that, hope is a part of just having any kind of zest for life. If you have no hope, if you are hopeless, and this is just a huge philosophical or psychological thing that people may disagree on, but whatever. For me, just personally speaking, in order to get up in the morning and have any kind of reason or point to go about my day, I have to have some kind of hope, something to sustain me, something positive, something joyous, something something optimistic, you know, in order to fuel my path in life. You know, there's just it's just really hard for me to be motivated to do anything, and I know that other people have that same feeling. So whatever, you know, it's a psychological trick or it's a philosophical trick if you say like, oh, you know, I've given up hope and I feel great, you know, that's fine too. I'm not there. That's just not how I operate. If that's how you operate, you're cool. You're cool with me. I'm cool with you. Hopefully you can be cool. You know, we can all be cool with each other as far as how we want to deal with this information. Long old intro and rant aside, I decided yesterday that I want to kind of steer. I'm going to continue to cover things that are happening, where we're at, what's going on. I think it's really important to understand the severity of the problem. I think it's really, really important to not downplay the severity of the problem. However, I also think that it's important to discuss options, discuss possible ways out, discuss policies, governmental policies, global policies, local policies, actions you can take personally, actions you can take politically, actions you can take on the larger realm, just, you know, whatever it is that you possibly might think that you can engage yourself in that could alleviate some of the stress, alleviate some of the depression, to feel like you are contributing to some positivity on this planet while we're all still here. I think that is the way I wish to conduct my life, however long that is going to be, whether it's 2, 20, or 40 more years. We don't know. We don't know how long we have. We know what the signs all point to. At the same time, the unknown is ever present, and the unknown looms large in our universe. We don't know. We just want to make educated and studied observations, and, you know, make sure that we're on when we're talking about sustainability, or when we're talking about possible ways forward, that we're dealing with reality. So that being said, I really wanted to just, so one of the, you know, I'm going to talk about some obvious things kind of I don't know that I'm, you know, along with this realization, I'm going to try and keep up the daily videos, but I don't know. I think what I'd like to do is do maybe a few less videos and maybe more well thought out. I don't know how it's going to play out. Who knows? Maybe I'll just keep doing the daily videos. I'm just kind of spitballing, brainstorming, trying to figure out, you know, what I'm doing with myself and my actions and my ability to, you know, communicate with people, however large or small. You know, just a few things that I wanted to talk about are, you know, obviously rampant consumerism is a huge problem, a huge contributor to what's going on this planet. We have this industrial capitalist society, and we are constantly told to buy things, buy things, buy things, acquire things, acquire things, acquire things. And it just, you know, we really need to tone that way down. I know that we need things in order to survive. You know, we need food, we need clothes, we need, you know, tools in which to go forward in our lives, but just really be observant of the things that we buy, and be observant of the things that people around you buy. If you have the opportunity, the possibility to have a discussion with people about the things that I'm just witnessing how, you know, what a knee-jerk thing it is to just buy stuff. You know, it really makes people feel good. It's really like a dopamine kick, and people are really just into, I've got this money, I'm going to buy this stuff. So be aware of what you're buying, be aware of all the things you're buying, be aware of the materials that go into the things that you're buying. Plastic is the devil, and plastic is killing our planet. I had a discussion with my daughter the other day, and you know, I didn't know how to tell her any other way that plastic was poison. Plastic is poison. And she looked at me with wide eyes, and she was like, so my toys are killing the planet? I was like, yeah, your toys are killing the planet. It's, you know, it is what it is. That's the truth. She got over it. We went on with our day. But I just wanted to impart the knowledge to her that that's, you know, that's what plastic is doing to the planet. So, you know, just be observant of the things you're buying. If there's a way that you can cut down your plastic consumption, recycling, not so great, you know, reuse and reduce is the way, you know, the real way to keep this stuff out of the circulation of garbage. Just don't buy it. If there's any possible way to not buy it, not consume it, that's the way to go, right? I know we all love our, we all love our, you know, we've all been told the plastic bags are evil, but then we all go out and purchase these reusable bags. Some of them might be sustainable, some of them not. Be very observant of what those bags are made of. And also, you know, so instead of plastic bags, people have like stacks full of, you know, these reusable bags that also become garbage as well. So if there's a way to not use a bag at all, don't do it. Just don't bring anything else into the circulation of the world. And obviously these bags are made and they will all become garbage anyways. Just as much as possible, find a way to educate people around this rampant consumerism that we're constantly engaging in. We need to open people's eyes to this. You know, the other thing I want to discuss, I'm not timing this video at all, so who knows how long this whole ramble is. Something for discussion is our how we gauge wealth, and how our wealth, quote unquote, runs directly against the health of our environment. Our wealth is generally a polar opposite of the environment. You know, our wealth contributes to the destruction of our environment. And if there's a way that we can start discussing what it means to be wealthy or healthy environmentally, and how our actions and our well-being are linked and tied to environmental health. Again, I'm just brainstorming, spitballing, thinking about ways to impart this kind of viewpoint on people, that we can start to look at things that not as in, you know, how much money we have or how much, you know, personal wealth we have, but I think it's high time, way past time, for us to realize that, you know, being a person of simple tastes or simple needs, having our requirements, our daily requirements, be very small, is directly proportional to environmental health. And if we can, again, have discussions with people about how they view their own personal wealth, how they view their impact on the environment and on the world at large, is very, very important. I cannot stress enough how important it is to try and impart this knowledge on people. So as much as we possibly can, we need to start educating others on what it means to live simply, and less damagingly, thank you, damagingly in this world. Why isn't the IPCC talking about overpopulation? I don't think I ever see in any of these reports, does anybody know if the IPCC actually addresses overpopulation? This should probably be one of the main talking points, aside from limiting carbon emissions. Why aren't they talking about overpopulation? Why isn't the UN discussing, if this is a UN backed or UN linked body, why aren't they discussing global population numbers and its impact on climate change? Why couldn't we have some kind of UN global initiative on limiting population? There seems to be a kind of a misunderstanding or a disconnect between when people start talking about overpopulation, they immediately start thinking, obviously people start going like, well, India and China and Africa, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in first world countries, i.e. the United States, every child uses way more resources than a child in India, China, or Africa. But one way to solve all of that is to have some kind of UN, I don't know if you want to, mandate is a strong word, but possibly some kind of push, a global push to limit, just say have a number, 1 or 2 children per family globally. That way it's fair, right? It's spread out. It affects everybody equally. And I don't know, this could be, if somebody would talk about it, if somebody would bring it up, if somebody could discuss it. Obviously, when you start lowering population on a major scale, that's going to impact economies. And I'm sure that's why, or one of the main reasons why this isn't discussed in any kind of meaningful way. But we need to start linking overpopulation to climate change. We need to start doing it, across the board. We need to start doing it globally. And this is just a thought, just a way in which we could possibly make an impact. What if we instituted a one-child policy globally for, let's say, the next 20 years? How radically could that reduce the global population? How radically could that reduce emissions and pollution and clear cutting and industrial agriculture? Like, that would just reduce all of these problems very, very quickly. Just a thought. I'm going to move on and just cover some things that are going on today. I apologize for I don't apologize, actually. I'm just going through some things I wanted to talk about. I try to make these rambles cohesive, but sometimes they just turn into rambles. So, just going through some news. if you guys have seen this video, I'm linking you a video from Seymour Rocks, in which Brian Williams, is that his name? I think that's his name. Newscaster talking about the UN, the IPCC report. And he uses at the end of the segment, it's a very short segment if you all haven't seen this, he uses the words, nature bats last. Or did he say nature always bats last? Anyways, very interesting. And possibly alarming that the mainstream media is picking up on what Guy McPherson has been trying to tell people for years and years. I'm going to link that video. I'm also going to link a video from Tim Bob regarding nature always bats last. If y'all don't know about Tim Bob, he does some interesting videos, mashups, if you will, of climate science and other issues. But I enjoy his videos. If y'all don't know who Tim Bob is, I'll link this one. You can find some else. I'm actually on a couple of his videos, which I think I'm flattered by. I'm not quite sure, but it's pretty cool. What else? So here's an interesting story. Space. There seems to be a privately funded space race going on. This is from the Washington Post from yesterday. Virgin Galactic is weeks away from reaching space, the CEO says. A few months after another successful test flight over the Mojave Desert, billionaire Richard Branson says his space company Virgin Galactic might be out among the stars in a matter of weeks. We should be in space within weeks, not months, Branson told CNBC on Tuesday, and then we will be in space with myself in months and not years. The 68-year-old chief executive of Virgin, along with Amazon's Jeffrey Bezos and Tesla's Elon Musk, is determined to bring tourists to space sooner rather than later. Bezos has said his space company Blue Origin also is expecting to pilot test flights by the end of 2018. In September, Musk announced his SpaceX company had sold its first ticket for a trip around the moon. Last year, Bank of America Merrill Lynch predicted the space sector would be worth $2.7 trillion by 2045. And that's all I'm going to read of this article. I'm going to link it below. I don't know what all you guys' thoughts are on this. It's rather ridiculous. And obviously it's, space for profit is coming soon to a theater near you. There's another article, and it's buried in my stuff, but I believe China successfully landed 2 rovers on an asteroid. So they're gonna, and this is in the support of mining like materials from space. Who knows? Who knows what this means if we collapse economically or environmentally? None of this is going to be viable for very long, much less 2045. It would be really nice if these companies were using their huge profits and economic firepower to figure out how we're going to thwart global warming, how we're going to suck CO2 out of the air, how we're going to combat global dimming. There are like really, really important problems that need to be solved very, very quickly. And these guys want to just sell tickets to space at the tune of $250,000 a pop. What a ride. What a ride, Mabel. Moving on. In response to the UN report about global warming, Republicans say it's fantasy. So this is from Huffington Post. There's not enough money in the world to pay for steps urged by the report, one GOP senator said, but there's plenty of money to pay for trips around the moon. The Republican response to an alarming new United Nations report on looming catastrophes caused by global warming suggests that little, if anything, will be done by the U.S. in the near future to address the threat of rising oceans, worsening droughts, and raging wildfires. A sobering report from the leading UN panel of researchers studying human-caused climate change calls on the world to take swift and drastic action to curb greenhouse gas emissions before the effects of climate change become irreversible. On Capitol Hill, a parade of GOP lawmakers interviewed by HuffPost on Wednesday dismissed its policy recommendations as wildly impractical, using ridicule to do so. They might as well be calling on me to sprout wings and fly to Canada for the summer, Senator Roger Wicker, a climate change skeptic, said of the actions urged by the report. It's totally unrealistic, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana said. They must have parachuted in from another planet. No, sir, this is the planet. You are the aliens. Issued just the madness. Issued by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the report found that the world is rapidly running out of time to scale back carbon emissions to keep planetary warming within 1.5 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels. If the flow of greenhouse gases continue to stream into the atmosphere at the current rate, the IPCC determined the global mean temperature will likely rise to 1.5 degrees. The 1.5 degree mark sometime between 2030 and 2052. I just don't understand how, again, the disconnect between our current kleptocracy slash capitalistic society is, the disconnect with the actual happenings in the physical world and the actual effect that this economic system is having on the physical world will soon mean the end of the economy. Maybe there's some way that these, I wish that there were more deeply thought out possible, reductions in the impact of the economy on the climate. Maybe taking budgets, taking fractions of military budgets, taxing the rich, on a certain level so that, we can put money towards mitigating climate change. These are would possibly be very small percentages out of this economy, that could have a huge impact. And I don't see many people talking about this. I don't see it being discussed on a widespread level. I think that there is a certain, there's clearly cognitive dissonance, when people talk about tackling climate change, that they cannot, reconcile what's happening in nature with what's happening in the economic world. And it's incumbent on us to start discussing that kind of stuff. It's incumbent on alternative news channels to start discussing this stuff. And it's incumbent on people being responsible for the reality of what we are doing. It's great that MSNBC is saying that we're in deep doo-doo. It's great that they're saying that on national television, but even saying that doesn't, it doesn't impart to people the, okay, it's really bad, and now a commercial break. It doesn't impart on people like the actual, small steps that we could start taking into the future, not just, we're going to build more electric cars or we're going to build more solar panels. You can't talk to people about reducing and reusing while you're trying to sell them a mop. So how do we start reconciling these messages? Moving on. This video may be long. I'm not even sure. I'm trying to cover a lot of things in a kind of a different way. So there, here's another. I didn't even realize that we had a pretty large market correction yesterday until I opened up the news email today. What was interesting is that it was on October 10th. You know how the doomer economist / conspiracy sites all like to put dates on, this is the day when the market's going to crash, and this is the end of the end of our paradigm as we know it right now. This is the huge market crash. It's coming on this day. They say that about 3 times a year, and it's been going on for years. And so it gets a little bit ridiculous after a while. How many times are you going to believe this is the day that the market's going to crash, or we're going to have the largest correction ever, or whatever? So there was a market correction yesterday. Interestingly enough, people have been, I've seen in a few places, and even somebody left a comment on this channel that the dates are October 10th and November 11th are dates that we should look out for in this, numerology, economic conspiracy world or whatever. So interesting that it happened yesterday. But I'm just going to read a little bit something about this. Trump says Fed has gone crazy with interest rate hikes. President also said today's stock market plunge was a long-awaited correction. Well, at least he's being realistic about the fact that, obviously the market has been going up since he was elected, on whatever, for whatever reasons, but that it couldn't keep on going the way it's been going realistically. So Donald Trump said Wednesday's stock market sell-off was in fact a long-awaited correction, and that the Federal Reserve, which has been raising U.S. interest rates, has gone crazy. And that's a whole other economic subject, but it's been long said that if the Fed raised interest rates as much as they said that they were going to over the last few years, that they would cause a huge bubble to burst, specifically a derivative or a bond bubble to burst. So I'm sure that's what Trump is referencing. However, it's, the economy is in a predicament too, just as the climate is in a predicament. They can't raise interest rates without causing some havoc. But if they don't raise interest rates, the economy collapses anyways eventually, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all I'm going to read of that. I'm going to list all these below and move on to the next thing I wanted to cover. Void sent me this. There was a rather large storm in the Great Lakes area, northern United States. Rain, flooding, strong winds hammer Northland. So this just happened, I believe, yesterday, or this is from today. No, this is from yesterday, excuse me. Wind gusts of 50 miles per hour were common across Northland on Wednesday as a strong fall storm caused power outages, swamped roads, and brought large waves of and flooding along Lake Superior shore. Water-swollen roads in Canal Park didn't deter the wave watchers from making their way to the shore, where waves crashed over the large boulder wall and the water flowed through the lighthouse parking lot and onto Canal Park Drive. The Canadian freighter Assiniboine anchored in Lake Superior just off Duluth, reported winds up to 64 miles per hour and 20-foot waves. The highest gust reported came just after midnight Wednesday morning from the Canadian freighter Algowood. It's a good name, which measured a wind gust of 86 miles per hour, well into hurricane force range, off the Minnesota North Shore near Castle Danger, according to the National Weather Service in Duluth. Wow, there's a picture of a huge wave, almost reaching the height of a bridge. The easterly winds were blowing so hard and pushing so much Lake Superior water into the harbor that the water level in the harbor increased 10 inches Wednesday morning. The Weather Service reported the wind-powered water pushed up the St. Louis River and caused minor flooding as far upstream as Boy Scout Landing and the River Place campground. Major storms, obviously, Hurricane Michael is still churning through the south. That's the official adjective or official verb that you have to use with hurricanes is churning. Covering this from the Amazon, or from Brazil, Amazon at risk from Bolsonaro's grim attack on the environment. So there's a right-wing candidate for president in Brazil, and he's, you know, a la Trump, threatening to, you know, scale back protections and just allow, you know, hog wild resource scavenging. Threats to the rainforest and its people and an end to the Paris Agreement are among the promises of Brazil's presidential hopeful. No more Paris Agreement, no more Ministry of Environment, a paved highway cutting through the Amazon. Not only that, indigenous territories open to mining, relaxed environmental law enforcement and licensing, international NGOs such as Greenpeace and WWF banned from the country, a strong alliance with the beef lobby. Yay. And the stock market soared. In a nutshell, that is what Jair Bolsonaro, who is sailing towards Brazil's presidency after taking a near majority in the first round vote on Sunday, has promised for the environment. An enthusiast for torture and the 1964 to 1985 military dictatorship, the retired army captain is famous for his racist, homophobic, authoritarian, and misogynistic rhetoric. Sound familiar? But his views on how to manage Earth's largest tropical rainforests are just as grim and appalling. Bolsonaro has galvanized voters in urban centers who are disillusioned with the political establishment's corruption scandals and attracted to his tough-on-crime positions amid rising criminality rates. He received 46% of the vote on Sunday and now faces an October 28th runoff with the Workers' Party, Fernando Haddad, who polled 29%. In the Amazon, illegal loggers, miners, land grabbers, as well as large landowners have rallied to his banner. Here, they don't expect Bolsonaro to enforce the law. On the contrary, the hope is that he fulfills his promise to obliterate nearly all environment and pro-indigenous legislation. He won massive support in rural, central, western states and all but one Amazonian state. That's all I'm going to read of that. I'm going to link that below. All right, all you libertarians out there. Environmental laws are in place so that we don't kill ourselves. If you don't understand that, it's not just all about just taking and getting whatever you want. If we all do that, we all die. That's a very simple equation. Lastly, I'm going to read this article from Robert Hunsaker from yesterday, the Indy 500 Polar Ice Cap Marathon. It's from Counterpunch. Eureka, the Vavilov ice cap set unheard of speed records a couple of years ago in a massive surge and left climate scientists, well, speechless. The Vavilov ice cap located in the Russian high Arctic, has for years cruised along at a speed of about 2 inches per day. But along the way, it was the recipient of the anthropogenic turbocharged CO2 infusion. Scientists didn't say that. Setting all-time world speed records of 82 feet per day in a massive surge. Hand-wringing scientists were aghast, confused. After all, ice caps are supposed to move by inches, not by 82 feet per day, especially considering the mean average annual temperatures at Vavilov Station of negative 16.5 C, which is brittle cold. Additionally, ice caps are very stable. The term ice cap refers to a specific type of glacier, a stable, slow-moving glacier. That's how it's always been until Vavilov hit the scene. Vavilov ice cap is on October Revolution Island in the Arctic between the Kara Sea and the Laptev Sea. It is a polar desert where frigid temps and dry weather should keep ice firmly tethered to bedrock. But not Vavilov. It's like a wild horse. September 26, 2018, it is As of September 26, 2018, it is sliding at 15 to 35 feet per day, much faster than its long-term average of 2 inches. The Vavilov is 1,000 to 2,000 feet, or 1/3 of a mile thick, covering over 700 square miles. Not only did Vavilov set an all-time speed record, but the scientists, after explaining they have never seen acceleration like Vavilov, raised a warning flag about the possibility that other currently stable ice caps may be more vulnerable than expected. Oh, really? They go on to say the rapid collapse of Vavilov has significant ramifications for glaciers in other polar regions, especially those fringing Antarctica and Greenland, where sea rise monsters hang out. Once again, similar to the same old story of scientists surprised by how fast things are happening. Oh my gosh, Vavilov caught them off guard. Climate models don't take this kind of surge into account. Still, it's important to realize that scientists have very limited historical data on glaciers in the world's remotest locations, and without further study, the authors of the Vavilov report are reluctant to boldly claim that climate change is the villain. It'll require considerable more study before drawing conclusions. Yet, common sense would seem to indicate that some kind of warming is behind such an unusual shift in the speed. What else could it be? In time, more answers will become available. As for now, scientists are scratching their heads in disbelief. Significantly, Vavilov breaks open a new dimension that should haunt the world's major players. Previously, it was believed that large bodies of ice could only respond slowly to changing climate conditions. That's dead wrong. But then again, the entire Arctic is experiencing anomalous sea ice breakup of monstrous proportions. For example, the oldest and thickest sea ice in the Arctic has started to break up, opening waters north of Greenland that are normally frozen even in summer, a phenomenon scientists described as scary. Here are the gritty details. The Arctic Sea north of Greenland has always been frozen rock solid until now. Over the years, scientists labeled it as the last ice area, a moniker that has now been crushed by global warming. Scary, wrote Thomas Laverne, a scientist at the Norwegian Meteorological Institute, in a retweet of a satellite GIF of the blue water penetrating white ice and exposing hundreds of miles of the Greenland coastline. In February, the Cap Morris Jessup weather station in the region is usually below -20 C. But earlier this year, there were 10 days above freezing and warm winds, which unlocked the ice from the coast. Whoa, something is horribly amiss. It's usually below -20 C. But instead, it was above freezing for 10 consecutive days in February, in the middle of winter at the North Pole. And just to top off how ridiculous the year has been, an enormous ice cap elsewhere in the Arctic is moving at 15 to 25 feet per day after surging 82 feet per day. The world is upside down. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time. Peace.